Anyway, so 1 week later, what happens? So we start the next session up. I give a quick recap of just everyone flying in. The Harpies dropping the players here. Rava and I really wish I remembered her name, coming up here and like basically dealing with the priestman that was up here and had previously summoned a fire elemental, so kept that from being a thing. And the rest of the Harpies just spread out, took care of random trash, and Qeth put down a big vortex, like I mentioned, blocking off the soldiers and the arrows and anyone from interfering, keeping also the party kind of blocked in. So there is that. They couldn't really outdistance the flames because of that. So there was also that. Like, yeah. But mostly we just went right back into it. And the rest of combat was a little weird. It was a long fight. A long fight of like chip damage hitting Salamander. And Salamander, he was located right in the center. He was like just activating each of these abilities in turn. One thing that happened, Ludwig immediately dropped Darkness on the pedestal, which one meant that like the party had some trouble hitting Salamander. Basically, there was a 50% chance that the party was going to miss Salamander and that Salamander was going to whiff his abilities and miss them. So there was a lot of that. But like also chip damage hitting him with AoE spells. He got down to about 100 health, which was like, I guess there's some in-between steps here. But he got down to, they chipped away a third of his health in I want to say like 6 to 8 rounds of combat. It was a lot of rounds. And what was happening there, like Darkness was down, they were missing, he was missing. Eve also picked up on the mechanics of these pillars pretty well. With help from Solus' Arcana check and them like talking outside of the fight. And Eve was like, I have this Feather Step token that Qeth gave me. I'm gonna walk between each of these pillars. I'm gonna activate them. I'm going to siphon out their energy and see if that prevents Salamander's abilities from working. And I was like, fuck yeah, that does. So they didn't have a chance to block this one off. A portal opened, Elemental came out, went and kicked at Sonus. And then Eve activated the like flame wall ability here on this pillar and like siphoned it into her Jade Fang, which is just a dagger she got from Explicita Defiance from the dungeon in Orlane that interacts with pillars like this and basically takes out the abilities that are kind of stored within, siphons off the energies and short circuits them for a while. So she hopped between pillars, pulling out these abilities, not actually doing anything other than that, and Salamander kept trying to activate them and they wouldn't activate. So I had it set that, at about a threshold of 100 health, he was going to just leave the pedestal and start actually fighting. And what happened before that, they got him down to like 100 and a bit, like a little bit more, and then Ludwig ran in. He's like, I have this gaseous form potion, so let me know if this is gonna work. And he runs in, holding a frost bomb, and pops the gaseous form potion. He's like, all right, so can I go inside Salamander's mouth? Well, this is on. And I was like, yes, sure, why not? So that was a thing. He popped that. Salamander tried to make a bite attack. I don't even think he saw the gaseous form because he was in darkness. He succeeded at his roll to attack. And Ludwig was like, I'm going to make myself vulnerable to this. I just want to get hit. So he got like crit. He got chomped for a lot of damage. And then he was like, all right, great. I'm in his mouth. All right. I'm going to I was like, Salamander doesn't have, I don't remember exactly how it worked, but I was like, he doesn't have enough actions to actually like swallow you whole yet. I might have made him make a roll, but I don't remember. But he actually does have just a swallow whole ability, and it's like after you bite, if you have an action left, you can swallow. And that wasn't able to happen. I think maybe he tried, and Ludwig was like still gas form, and like didn't reach. There's some kind of mechanic with gaseous form that I don't know. I don't remember. But we're gonna move on. So Ludwig took a bunch of damage, and then he reformed inside Salamander's mouth on his turn, and was like, all right, I shove a frost bomb down Salamander's throat. I was like, okay, that's kind of wild. I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give it to you a lot. This is gonna be an auto crit because it's hitting inside of the creature, some very vulnerable points. It's gonna be an auto crit here, and Salamander has a weakness to frost damage as well, so it did just a ton of damage. Ton of damage. Oh, Cam, I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna look at what you... Days without a TPK? Yeah. It's a lot more days than this. It's a lot more days than this. I'm just gonna leave this up for now. So. Alright. So, Ludwig hops in, reforms in Salamander's mouth, pops the frost bomb there, and then, like, he takes some AoE damage, but then jumps out of the mouth. So the other threshold I have is that he's got, like, a frost damage threshold here, and they've been peppering him with a bit of frost damage, bombs and some other, like, frost rays. And I was like, when it goes over 30 damage, he's going to lose a bunch of stats. Like, his AC is going to go down by... what was it? I like, took away all of his dex to AC, which is... Where are his stats? They're not here. It's fine. It's not a big deal. I don't have his dex available, but he lost all of his dex to AC, and, yeah. So that was that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I think he lost 4, I believe, yeah. And I think he had, like, 18 dex, something like that. So, pretty big deal, obviously. And from there, that also put him below the health threshold where he was going to go out and attack, but Ludwig was right there. So he swung and attacked at Ludwig, like, bite, try to whip him with the tail. All of it missed. Just because of the darkness plopped on him. So did, like, Ludwig's other attack? I don't know. So that missed. And then another round goes by. And this is where you're like, he nearly died in the next round. And you might say, yeah, you lowered his AC by 4. Obviously. Obviously, he's going to take a lot more damage. That's a lot more hits coming out from the party. That's like, what is it, 20% more chance to hit or something regularly? But no. That's not what happened. That is irrelevant because 3 people rolled natural 20s. And so, he just lost, like, 80 HP or something in a round after the frost bombs and was at nearly nothing. And I was like, well, he went from my leave platform threshold to nearly dead. He'll walk out here. He, like, tried to pick a direction, tried to seek someone, rolled really badly, didn't seek anyone from the darkness. Walked out here. Solus was sitting somewhere about here, so he changed direction, walked up to Solus, who was the closest, took a bite, and I believe crit Solus. Crit Solus right down to 0. Yeah, I can scroll up. I can. I also... All right, we're going to skip past my meta rolls. For 60... Yeah, 64, by the way. There's a lot. There's so much. Oh, the intimidation is after. Spoilers for later. Where is it up here? I don't know. Oh yeah, I was rolling as fire elemental. I don't know, it's hard for me to find. I'm sorry. Okay. But yeah, lots of crits. We'll just scroll up until we see some green. There's a Ray of Frost. That was the last hit. That hit him to exactly 0. I remember that. And then, oh, I have to, okay. This is right at the end, yeah. So, crit for 32, double that, 64. I wonder if it'll let me just find this. Show on, older by 1 page, and then all the way at the bottom, right? So yeah, here's another crit on the short bow. Midwest Paddle, that was just a regular hit. That was a bit more damage. The Hand of the Apprentice was a miss. Well, yeah. So anyway, Lots of damage all at once. Solus got crit down to 0. So Solus almost died. Oh yeah, you were already at 1 wound, right? Or something like that? I don't remember exactly. No. Well, he crit you, so you went down to 2 wounds, right? 2 wound, 2 dying. And then someone got you up right away. So, but it was a little scary. It was a little scary. Yeah, you go up to 2. I didn't remember if you were going right from 1 to 3 or 0 to 2, but yeah. So yeah. So Moto tried to stabilize, tried to make a save versus the death row, and then I was like, "You do have a hero point," and Moto was like, "Oh yeah, I used the hero point to re-roll it," and I was like, "That's not what I meant, but okay," and that was a success. I will remind Moto in here that you just use a hero point to stabilize automatically and get rid of all of your wounds and dying, which is what I meant to remind him of, but that's fine. And then from there, let's talk about. So Salamander's dead. Salamander's on the ground. Qeth disperses the wind wall after they get Solus back up a respectable amount, and everyone's just kind of stunned. They know even before the wind wall drops that their god has died. There's an explosion of flame, like a pillar of fire, not like miles tall or anything, but like a gout of fire shoots into the sky. Is that what actually did that almost knock you down again? Is that what I'm thinking of? That maybe you almost died from the explosion afterwards? Whatever, it's fine. So yeah, gout of flame, a little like death pyre, self-inflicted, and after okay, sorry, I'm overloading myself. Take a breath, take a step back. What actually happened? Eve knocked Salamander to 0. Eve was like, "Oh, we've done it. Wait, let me get the killing blow," basically. And Sonus walked up and was holding his sword over Salamander, and I was doing a little cheaty thing where I was like, "He's at 0. He's conscious, but at 0." So he was at 0, and I house rolled I was like, he's unconscious. He's a deity. His 0 is slightly different from a mortal's 0. So he looked up at Sonus and said something about how the council will... Not the council. I believe he just said Eden will awaken the old ones, basically. And Sonus was like, "Oh, okay, I kind of want to know more about that." And then Solus did not take that risk and shot him. And he, at that point, his red flame energy started pouring forth, and the gout of flame shot in the air and everything, and nearly knocked Solus out again. And then after that, wind wall goes down. All of the worshippers are stunned. Ramona was had been helping everyone fight the harpies, and then moved up. And this is another part, even more than before. This is another part where I was like, okay, now we have to deal with the consequences of this, and I don't know if I can hit the emotional impact of this correctly for all of these followers. And I had a goblin stuttering and being like, "He's dead, we must get vengeance," and raising his weapon and stepping forward, and Ramona grabs his shoulder, knowing that basically they didn't have a chance without Salamander, especially since the party had killed Salamander, and kind of stopped it. And I had some trouble playing that restraint of just being enraged that these people had come, desecrated a place that you considered holy, killed your god, but or Ramona at least knows that they fight the party now, everyone is dead. All of these followers are gonna just lose their lives for the sake of wanting revenge, and knowing that they wouldn't actually even get it. So yeah, it's kind of hard for me. There's another thing where I have to practice that kind of role playing more to get better at it, and just have to keep doing it over and over until I get slightly less awkward with it. But yeah, she stepped up and basically said, "Leave now. We're not going to stand in your way. You've done what you came here to do. You've assassinated our god, you terrible people. Now leave. We will not stop you if you depart in peace now. And Eve took like a kind of irrelevant bone from Salamander and like snapped it in half, rolled a intimidation check, and like tossed it towards Ramona and said something that I should have like looked it up before I started this, but we were playing Valorant, and so I did not have prep time. I did not have prep time for this, so I didn't go look it up. But said basically something of like something along the lines of with how easily Salamander was broken. Like, I think it was because they were saying, don't desecrate Salamander further. Don't, like, take his head like you're trying to do. Because they have to get the head and leave with it to bring it back to the council, basically. And Eve was saying, like, we'll do whatever we want. Look at how brittle and easily destroyed your god was. Like, snaps the bone, throws it at her. And Ramona, like, storms off. Basically says, like, do not fight them. Don't lose your lives to them, but I'm not going to watch this. And, like, leaves. And so the party kind of did whatever they wanted from there. I basically said, if you take more than just Salamander's head, like, you're going to make a forever enemy in Ramona. And I don't remember... Yeah. I don't remember exactly what their response was, but they took the head at any rate. They took a bunch of the gold around here. Some, like, the incense burner that was there. Not the incense burner, I guess it was an incense burner. And I think they even, like, took some stuff from... They went in and took all the gold from, like, inside the temple. They were like, all right, well, we rolled good on an intimidate check. We have the run of the place. So they took everything and then basically said to the harpies, like, hey, unknowable object. Yeah, there was a 29 Arcana check to figure out what the heck the incense burner was. And the DC to figure it out is a 30. So Moto was not too happy about that. From there, the party got an airlift from the harpies south. They took off before they could be harassed anymore on the island, headed straight south, and forbidden knowledge. Yes, exactly. Took a full day of flight down here to the beautiful hex of M39. And then from there, they headed to Green Rock Hill. I rolled some encounter tables, which you may have seen me scrolling past. And they did not run into any enemies along the way. There was some paths for something. I don't remember what. Wasn't really relevant. And then they got to Green Rock Hill. We kind of sped it along so they could get to the next checkpoint. The next, a good spot to, like, bookmark for the night. So they journey through the wilderness a bit, pass the, like, burnt out farmlands again, get to Green Rock Hill, and talk to Eve's. I guess there's a moment before this. Let's back up again. That's why I need to write notes. I need to take a break between Valorant and recap to write some notes down. There was a scene before where they were role-playing with... They were talking to Qeth and the Harpies, and after they'd landed, after they camped for the night, they were like, okay. So, you were a pretty big deal in the way we defeated Salamander. You came to our aid. We ostensibly kind of owe you. And, you know, you proved to be faithful allies, and we kind of like you, Qeth. You're pretty neat. Qeth this whole time has kind of a more subdued demeanor. Isn't comfortable in leadership exactly. Keeps like bristling when important questions come up. She's basically just a warrior who ended up being worshipped and became a deity like on accident because of like one act of like protecting the gnolls. So yeah, she was like elevated by surprise when that happened, and has been trying to figure out how to deal with it, how to deal with leadership when basically she just ran like a basically a band of bandits before, like raiders, um, who like took whatever they wanted to survive from the surrounding area to suddenly being like, well, I'm being worshipped as kind of this guardian, and kind of it's making me want to be better and defend people actually. So, so yeah, they're kind of like a socially awkward deity, and I've Qeth is really fun to play, to be honest, and the players all seem to enjoy them. So that's been fun. But they said, why don't we? We have this head, like we're gonna have the run of Eden. Why don't we install one of your people as like a member of the council? And Qeth was like, that's kind of odd, but I'm interested. That sounds like a good idea. Why not? And then Eve was like, why not Rava? And Rava the whole time has been kind of a carefree, a little bit of a goof, a little bit crass. So she just starts laughing because there was an earlier scene about sarcasm, and so she starts laughing and then stops, and she's like, oh, you were serious. I'm sorry. I thought everything you said was sarcasm now. And yeah, so then she was like, oh, well, I think that's going to be the best thing for our people, so I'll give it a shot. But also, my friend comes with. I pointed to her barbarian like underling, basically. And the party was like, okay, sure, that sounds fine. That sounds fine. You accompany us back to Eden, and we'll figure that out. So, with their new ally, they head down to Green Rock Hill, and they arrive without too much incident. They're like ahead of anyone who would basically mess with them. Like the party this whole time has moved pretty fast. So like, while they're heading this way, Brass is still like making his way up here and coming around the bend, and like might not even know for a while that Salamander is dead. Their rival in this case, their rival mercenary company. So party arrives, Green Rock Hill. They speak to Seth and basically they get an escort of Eve's brother, kind of a general, like lieutenant general at Green Rock Hill, and he's like, I'll get you an escort. And Eve says, why don't you do us one better? Why don't you come with us personally? And he was like, that's a good idea. I'm still gonna bring the escort. And that's kind of where we ended it. The party is gonna head out with, like, they've already kind of had their kill of Salamander, like, not fully validated, but like they've spoken to someone pretty official about it, and they're traveling with someone pretty powerful. So like the chances of someone like Brass or some other rival like mercenary or adventuring group like stopping them and taking the head, it's pretty slim. It's not going to be super easy. Everyone at Green Rock Hill knows that Seth is going with them. The lieutenant general is going with them, and like some of the people there, at least the general in charge, know why. So if someone else kills the party and turns up with the head, it's not going to work out very well. You know? So yeah. But that's where we ended it. That was where we stopped the session. And yeah, I think that went pretty well. Again, other than like my own awkwardness when they killed the god and they were surrounded by a bunch of angry followers, and like I had to play Ramona being reasonable but super pissed. Not something I'm used to. Not something I slip into very easily. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Most of the party seemed to enjoy it, and yeah, I'm excited to keep going tomorrow. Also excited. That was our last Roll20 session, probably. So I'm really excited to switch to Foundry tomorrow, and that's part of what we're going to be working on in just a few short moments. Right now, I'm going to go take a break, and then I'll be right back, and we'll be working on something. I've got a kind of a variety of things to go through. One of them I'll have to kick Moto out for, so that could be later. That could be towards the tail end. Yeah, when Foundry server maintenance decides to end, I think we'll get rid of this. That's the thing. Is I think that, like, Forge is fine, kind of. Like, they had a little thing about their maintenance up, but I think it's done. I think our table has already been moved over. But we'll find out in a moment. I should have. Looks like Patreon is still down, and that's the problem. But yeah, we'll be back in a minute and we'll figure out what we're gonna do, because if we have prep to do and all the prep's in Foundry and we can't get to Foundry, I don't know. Might have to figure out an alternative. Anyway, talk to you guys soon. I'll be back shortly. I'll put on some music, go stretch my legs, and yeah, hydrate. I hear that's important.